Hi, so I'm David Ripert. I head YouTube Next Lab for EMEA, Europe, Middle East, Africa. Just a little bit on my background. I started 12 years ago in Hollywood. Wanted to meet a lot of celebrities and produce movies. Of course, it's just like any other business. Particularly, it takes a very long time to get stuff produced. The creator life cycle in Hollywood is 6 months, 9 months, a year. So I was really interested in online video. Went to Netflix, then Dailymotion, and today YouTube. And what's particularly exciting with platforms like YouTube is that creators are in total control of their content. They have analytics to know what works, what doesn't work, and they can turn around and change content very quickly. It's a very exciting space. And today I have the honor of having Michael Stevens, who runs Vsauce, creator of Vsauce channel, which is the biggest science educational channel on YouTube. Michael has about 7 million subscribers on that channel. He just got nominated for a Webby, so I want to applaud him.
Thank you.
Well, good luck.
Yeah.
If you saw his session this morning, he presented some of the most interesting content on YouTube, and he was here a year ago with me, and we're going to talk to you about some of the strategies that we've observed from top creators on YouTube that makes them successful in terms of digital storytelling and how they use the platform to develop their content that you, the broadcasters, the producers, should think about if you want to launch a channel on YouTube. So I'm going to introduce Michael through a clip from one of his videos, What Does Human Taste Like?
Hey, Vsauce, Michael here. Eating your own boogers is gross, but it might be smart. Assuming you have clean fingers, lung specialist Frederick Bischinger points out that snot contains antiseptic enzymes that kill or weaken bacteria. Reintroducing those crippled microorganisms may allow your immune system to develop antibodies in relative safety. Now, that is good to knows. But is eating your own snot cannibalism? Self-cannibalism. Just like a cow or chicken or fish or fruit or vegetable, you are made out of a lot of edible things. The meat on an average human body contains 77,000 dietary calories worth of nutritional energy. Yum. If you decide to become a cannibal, just don't show up late for dinner or you'll get the cold shoulder. Jokes aside, cannibalism is a major taboo. It's off-putting at a visceral level. Humans have dignity. They are more than just skin bags full of organs. They're more than just something to put on a plate. But human meat has been put on plates and in bellies. There are reports of cannibalism occurring in times of famine, as a last resort, and because of curiosity and art. In the late 1980s, artist Rick Gibson publicly ate human tonsils and other donated human parts in London and Canada. In 2006, artist Marco Evaristi cooked and canned meatballs prepared with his own body fat, removed via liposuction.
Suction.
Yeah. Liposuction, by the way, yeah, if you didn't guess.
So that video did about 6 million views alone, and most of your videos are around that range.
Yeah.
And so I like to use Michael as a case study, first of all, because he's one of the top creators on YouTube, but also because he covers and uses a lot of the top strategies that we've identified on YouTube, which I'm going to cover today, in terms of developing his content for the platform. And we've actually articulated them into 3 pillars. The first one is keeping yourself happy, the producer. The second one is getting viewers, and the third one is keeping viewers happy in logical order. First, you want to make sure you're inspired and you make sustainable content. Then you want to make sure that people will discover your content on YouTube. And then the third one, you want to make sure that people will stick around, that you have a video hub, a daily destination. And so you want to build that loyal fan community, that community of fans on YouTube. So the first one is inspiration. You don't do it just for views. Usually the top creators are very inspired about the subject matter they cover. They're experts and aficionados. So between the Disney toy cars that you can see here on the right, which actually does really, really well on YouTube because the guy really loves them and a lot of people connect to it, to more broad car reviews, what really counts is your passion for that type of content, because that passion will become authenticity. And authenticity is one of the keywords on YouTube, because that audience will connect with you and will want to follow you because they have similar passions. So we'd see a lot of beauty girls that were working in retail before. They really liked makeup and fashion. They become very successful beauty girls like Tanya Burr in the UK. We have people that do trick shots in sports that are really passionate about that and make great audience educational videos. And Michael obviously is very passionate about his subject matter, which is science education. You actually had a psychology or psychiatry degree, right?
Yeah, my background was in neuropsychology, and I worked on a research project, and I loved it, but I wasn't as organized as I should have been. But what I was good at is getting other people excited about scientific research that was going on and explaining it to them. And I know it's kind of like blah, 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 be passionate, like what you do, but now more than ever, that's true. Not just so that you are happy, but so that people find you genuine and want to keep watching forever. I mean, I met with a news agency, which I will not name, and they were going to do this really cool show about the Olympics, and they brought this guy in who they said was their writer. They were going to hire some really sexy host later, and the guy was like fat and really sweaty, like it wasn't even hot. Clearly wouldn't be good on camera, right? Well, he's sitting there going, well, did you know that the fastest person ever was not Usain Bolt? It was this other guy in the 80s who had a slow start and actually ran like at a faster speed than we've ever clocked a human at. And I'm like, dude, you're the host. People don't care about the way it looks or how hot you are. They want that passion. And you're going to have a lot more fun doing it, and you're going to do it forever, and you're going to do it 100 hours a week if you really love it. And that's what you find in common with all these top channels.
Right, and whether you're an individual creator or company making content, or you manage a channel on YouTube on behalf of a company, that passion and expertise is really important. It will translate, and people will pick it up if you're not being honest. And I want to talk about brands also in this session because a lot of people come to us and ask us if we still fund channels, and I won't answer those questions, by the way. But most of all, I think because we're an ad-supported platform, you have really the chance to use your expertise as producers, collaborate with those brands, and make native content for YouTube. So this is an example of Volvo Trucks. You've probably all seen that video where they did a live test with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and it was part of a series of live tests. They did one with ballet dancers and other ones. And they really were authentic about their brands, and that's why they used him. They talked about challenges on the road, and he talked about his body sculpted to perfection, and that really related to their trucks as well. And my second one is McDonald's. Because they get slapped on the wrist a lot about their hamburgers and how they're not depicted in real in campaigns, they don't look real. They did this whole session about asking questions to McDonald's, and they'll answer those questions in video on YouTube. It was called Your Questions, and they went backstage and showed how they shoot burgers and whatnot. So they were really honest with the audience, and they really connected with the audience, and allowed them to ask questions and stayed authentic. And the second one in keeping yourself happy is being sustainable, which is a huge one. You don't need big budgets on YouTube to be successful. You need that passion, but also you need to be able to replicate videos. I'm going to show an example of what is not sustainable. Let's roll Dragon Baby. Do you have any sounds?
The end. No, I think we're going to get it with sound.
So we'll roll the video in a second, but basically... a bit of violence, right?
Well, yeah.
But so this guy, Patrick Boismond, does amazing videos. There's another one called Iron Baby. If you haven't seen his channel, check it out. Unfortunately, there's only a couple of these, like big visual effects and mixing a lot of that. He has that expertise, but it costs a lot of money and a lot of time to produce those videos. So he only has a couple of them. This one did, I think, 27 million views, but he's not able to replicate them over and over again. On YouTube, it's very important to do at least one video a week or one video a month when they're really exceptional videos. People will come to expect those videos on YouTube. They subscribe to your channel, just like any other social networks, they follow you. So if you don't have those videos coming up, they might unsubscribe, and all that effort of building a loyal audience will be for nothing. So this is an example of something that's not so sustainable. On the right hand, you have this guy who uses bad grammar he finds on YouTube and posts those comments with bad grammar on his channel. Very sustainable, doesn't cost much, and it's rather successful. And so the Fine Brothers said something that's really important. If we can't shoot at least 3 episodes in one day, we move on to the next idea. So think about doing bulk production. And as a brand, think of also as a production company, what things can creators access if they collaborate with you? What do you have access to? Do you have facilities? Do you have connections to celebrities, to talent that they can collaborate with? The slow-mo guys in the UK do really cool videos. They slow-mo everything. And here, GE Labs gave them access to their lab to test a lot of weird products.
Yeah.
And that was a great thing for them to collaborate on, and it was a successful brand collaboration. So think of the things you can do with creators. I wanted to use that quote to ask you a question, Michael. So to be inspired is great. To inspire is incredible. We talked a bit about your inspiration, but how did you start the channel, and what is your creative process?
In order to make Vsauce sustainable, I had to do about what inspired me, which means when I was alone, I just learned and read stuff and talked out loud explaining things. It was the only way I could understand them. And so turning that into a YouTube channel was the obvious solution. And now my episodes are in classrooms like all around the world. Check out my Twitter. I have a hashtag SchoolSauce.
Tweet sauce?
SchoolSauce.
Oh, okay. Because
the channel's Vsauce and SchoolSauce is the hashtag. TweetSauce is my Twitter name, so you should probably follow me, you know. But SchoolSauce allows me to get teachers and students excited about playing my episodes in classrooms to supplement the material they already have.
Great. How do you feel about that? What role do we have to play at YouTube in terms of education? And I mean, do you feel you're more of an entertainment destination, or is it more of the educational component?
Yeah. First of all, shout out to all teachers. You guys are amazing. I can't imagine having to be in a classroom every morning really early. I can just make an episode when I want to, but I think that we can connect with kids and get them excited about, this is really entertaining also. This isn't just something for the test. This is something for understanding the world and loving the world more.
All right, thank you. And actually, on the sustainability, you shoot a lot in the space in London, but your process is really simple. It's just one camera and one black screen, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're a one-man band, really.
Right. I mean, I would like to say everything I make is an exceptional video, but it's just I cannot always put the 8 or 9 days into that work that I need to, and so really recently I've started a new show, a brand new format that I call WOAH, W-O-A-H, what would occur if it actually happened. And on that show, rather than having to write my entire script and perform it in front of the camera like this, I do appear on camera sometimes, but I actually have an animator create a visualization. The latest one was, what if the moon was a disco ball? What would night look like? And so we actually created a model of the solar system with a disco ball moon and just pressed play and checked out what it would look like down here on Earth. It turns out it's really cruddy. The moon and sun are not set up like a good discotheque. It's very depressing, but it was a chance for me to teach a lot about optics, about specular reflection, and about how far away the moon is. And the point of that format is that I only had to spend a day and a half on the production side of it because I had an animator doing most of the visuals. And so figuring out how do I please the audience, make cool stuff, but also give myself breaks between the really big pieces, that's always the challenge, but a lot of people are doing it well. We'll talk about collaboration a little bit afterwards. But the third key strategy that we observe YouTubers or creators do is being shareable. And that's one key thing, because
YouTube is a social network, just like Facebook and Twitter, as I mentioned before. You can follow someone and subscribe to their channel. You'll be notified on your feed, on the homepage on YouTube, what new videos have been uploaded. Whenever there's activity around that creator, you'll be notified. So when you're producing content, you want to make sure that it is shareable by being funny, by being smart, or by being incredibly valuable. So people have to action on it. If I hear about a great restaurant from a friend of mine, I'm most likely to go to that restaurant, and it's really the same thing on YouTube. If I see a video that's shared on my Facebook by a friend of mine, I'm very likely to click on it. So you really want to have that action of people clicking on the video to watch it and then sharing it. Same thing, if they share it, you want to make sure that people will be clicking on it afterwards. Is the thumbnail attractive and whatnot? Is the subject matter something that's attractive?
Yeah, David, I don't think this is a break for me to talk, but I just wanted to say something about this because this is the super big key. I mean, making your content shareable is the make or break moment. Like if you're only going to write down one little note, it's about this. And it's about not just making content that you think your potential audience would like, but making content that they can use. The way I always phrase it is people share things not because they like you and want to like promote you for free. They share content because the attributes of that come back and reflect off of them. So if I share a funny video, I look like I'm a funny guy. I've got a good sense of humor. I found this video before you did. If I share a sad video, it's about, look, this is important to me, and I want you to feel this way too. I want you to see how important this issue is. So I like things on YouTube because I want people to think that I am like those things.
Thanks. And Red and Link, who are on stage this morning, said, before we make a video, we ask ourselves, when people share this, what 10 words will they use to describe that to their friends? What 10 words will they use on a Facebook page to describe that video? If they can't find those 10 words, they move on to the next idea.
If you can't find the 5 words, that would be just in a tweet like, dude, blew my mind. Whatever those 5 words would be, wow, no wonder penguins don't have cold feet. Now I know why. Whatever it is, if you don't have those 5 words, you need to...
and your titles are very,
Yeah, my titles, the packaging that I use on those videos are exactly what the subject line of an email can be when your mom sends it to you. I don't require the bloggers that cover my videos or the people that watch them to do any work putting it into context. The title says it all.
And they pique your curiosity, like what does human taste like?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And some of the brands like Red Bull, who probably is one of the best brands I think on YouTube today because they really own the extreme sports vertical. What they do is they create those tentpole events ahead of time. They talk about that jump that Felix Baumgartner is going to make. That's going to be on TV and YouTube and everywhere. So they build that momentum and they make it extremely shareable by talking about that event everywhere. Being valuable also, we have beauty vloggers like Zoella here, who's very successful in the UK. She does collaboration with Tresemme, for example. It's all about beauty and hair and what you need to do. So these are valuable things that people will always be looking for. And the last example of being shareable is being relatable. Are you talking to an audience that can really relate to that content? This is the Dove example, which is another really famous one, the sketches, the beauty sketches. So have a look on YouTube if you haven't seen this before. These are really relatable pieces. The fourth one, which is one of my favorite and really, really key driver of audience on YouTube, is collaboration. You have an immense community of creators on YouTube. You have the opportunity to collaborate with them. And if you understand that subscription of YouTube channels, so I subscribe to 200 plus channels, that means I really relate to them. They're authentic to me. If someone like Michael is shouting out to another creator, I'm very likely to subscribe to that new channel in turn because I trust Michael and he's my source of information. Let's actually look at a clip where you collaborated with Minute Physics.
Hey, Vsauce, Michael here, and what do you say we get out of here to space and into an orbit? That way we could just float around and be free from the influence of gravity. Except not really. Astronauts orbiting around the Earth experience pretty much the same gravitational pull that you and I are feeling right now. The major difference is that those astronauts are falling constantly towards Earth, but their angular velocity is so large that they're falling just as fast as Earth curves away from them. Now, of course, this is nothing new. Tun's canon hasn't already taught us.
Gravity makes stuff fall, and in particular, Newton realized that it makes objects accelerate towards the Earth the same amount independently of how fast they're moving horizontally. That's called relativity. And of course, orbiting is just falling, but falling where you move horizontally fast enough that the Earth falls away faster. In order to successfully fall and miss the Earth, unless you dug a tunnel, you'd need to be traveling at almost 17,000 miles per hour, or 8 kilometers every second. So you'd probably incinerate from friction with the air well before you had a chance to enjoy the trip.
So we'll talk about this particular collaboration a bit later, but I wanted to show different forms of collaboration as well. So there's the co-production type of collaboration, which a lot of production companies are going to be familiar with. On YouTube, that already exists, obviously. There's a lot of people that are skilled. They're musicians. They might do a musical intro for someone. They might do great visual effects. They might do animation, like we saw in this video. So there are great ways to collaborate with them. As a production company, also, you have those skills that those creators don't have. So is there something you can get them to do with you so that you can get attraction from their audience and in turn provide those skills? This is an example of Red Bull collaborating with BBC Earth Unplugged, a YouTube channel. Very different types of content. BBC Earth Unplugged is all about animals and nature. Red Bull, like I said, is all about extreme sports. But it was a really cool collaboration. They put a webcam on a falcon on the BBC Earth Unplugged channel, and they put a webcam on an athlete, a cyclist, bikeless, on the Red Bull channel. And at the same time, you could see the different perspectives. They had annotations, which are clickable links on the video where you could navigate between the two channels.
The cyclist, by the way, had like a backpack full of bird food, or like a dead rabbit, right? And so then they set the falcon off, and the cyclist was supposed to race away from the falcon. And he actually did a pretty good job, but each channel had a different perspective. So cool.
Yeah, so here, Red Bull had access to the Olympus cyclist, and then Earth Unplugged had access to the falcon. Very different demographics, but it really worked. Another type of collaboration is Jamie Oliver, who's a brand in himself. He has books and magazines and TV shows. He did this tentpole live stream event where he got a lot of YouTubers, YouTube creators to come in. He had Pixiwoo and Beauty and Fashion. Jack's Gap, we saw them this morning as well, the young vloggers. They came in. So their audience is pretty young. It's mainly teenage girls. They have about 3 million subscribers. His audience is a bit more mature. He talks about food. He has a channel called FoodTube. And they collaborated together in this clip. They were eating spicy food. And it really worked for him. He got more younger audience to discover his content and his channel. On the other flip side, they benefited from credibility by collaborating with a famous celebrity in a brand. And then working with a brand, we see a lot of vloggers that are hesitant, or YouTube creators that are hesitant because they don't want to do too much brand placement. So it is a challenge. They want to stay authentic to their content. This is a cool example of Ben Cook. He has something called 31 Things That YouTubers Do. It was all silly things, throwing eggs at yourself and whatnot. And they collaborated with Samsung for the new Galaxy S4 Active, which is dirt-free, so it's very protective. And they filmed with that phone supplemental content on the same channel. It was called 31 More Things That You Can Do. So it stayed very consistent with their content, and I'll talk more about that afterwards. Accessibility is making sure that each piece of content can be understood on its own. I'm a huge Breaking fan. I've seen all the seasons. And if you don't know the series and you go to season 3, episode 32, whatever it is, you might be really confused because you haven't followed the different characters. The storyline is very complex. On YouTube, the top successful YouTubers have very independent pieces of content. They're very accessible in that manner. That you can jump in and discover that new piece of content without having seen the previous videos. So Barely Political, they do sketch comedy, they do the Key of Awesome music parodies. Each of these videos are accessible in that way. And that's very important because if you think of the subscribers I mentioned before, let's say you're collaborating with someone else or someone discovers a new piece of video, they get to your content, they get to the latest videos you've uploaded, they won't know what the channel's about from before, so you want to catch them on early.
I never thought about that, but I totally do that. I mean,
you are totally accessible.
If I was on TV, it would just be called Vsauce episode 17. Instead, it's called How Would You Die If You Fell Into a Black Hole?
Exactly. The only difference might be that you're thinner now than you were a couple of years ago. But
yeah, I've lost weight since that collaboration clip, by the way, because collaborating and working together helps you lose weight. Quote me on that. It's science.
So have an active relationship with YouTubers. And this is an example, a great example of a brand, Land Rover, who collaborated with Peter Bregill. He does a great travel blog. And he stayed consistent, and he's very accessible. Each episode was a different travel vlog. And so that could be accessed at any time during the series. And discoverability is obviously another key thing. So we talked about being shareable. People might discover your content through social networks. We talked about subscriptions. People might discover your content because they subscribe to someone and you've collaborated with someone else. People will also discover you through search. YouTube is the second search engine after Google. So make sure you take advantage of that beyond metadata and making sure you have relevant keywords that people will search for and discover your content on. Take advantage of things that are happening in the world or events that are happening that are key to your content and to your brands. The World Cup is happening soon. That is a trending topic you should all be taking advantage of. But if you're doing music content, you might want to take advantage of an album that's being released or a movie if you're doing entertainment. If you're doing fashion, it might be Fashion Week, whatnot. So look at what things that people are looking for. There's Google Trends. Just type trends in Google. It will show you almost in real time what the things that that people are looking for and try to create content around that. On the reverse, you might want to do something around common searches. So this girl does 25 ways of wearing a scarf, and that video alone did 23 million views because people keep looking for ways of tying a scarf. I don't know if you do, Michael, but
every day.
Okay.
I know 26 ways to tie a scarf.
Perfect. So you might want to do a video on that, or that won't be consistent with your content, I guess. It might be how to paint a wall or doing a light bulb. I mean, a lot of how-to video is evergreen in that way. It's something that people will always be searching for. And something we've observed is that they do it probably 2 or 3 weeks before the actual event. Let's say Halloween, for example. If you upload a video on Halloween day, you'll be at the top of that tentpole shape. So you wouldn't capture that whole growth there that we're seeing. So trying to upload videos at least a couple weeks before the actual event when people are starting to search for it, Mother's Day, et cetera, et cetera. So you could take advantage of that whole growth. And Sorted Food, one of the top food channels in the UK, for example, did a cake based around the TARDIS box. I can't believe I know that name, but it's the name of the Doctor Who box. And that was around the Doctor Who 50th anniversary. And they knew people were looking for that on Google. So they made this Dalek bread recipe, which is garlic bread, but they changed the name, to take advantage of that. First Kiss, you probably all heard about this viral video. And I hate that word, but people were searching for this like crazy because people were sharing it and people, strangers were kissing. How did this happen? So Snog, this brand, turned around within 24 hours and did a branded piece of content called First Snog. So they really took advantage of that viral video kicking off and try to grab audience. So we're talking about shareability. I hate the word viral because I don't think someone should try to be viral because that's a one-off kind of success and people will not remember you. I think we want to be consistent. But I was going to ask you what you do on different social networks. How do you take advantage of Twitter and Facebook and Reddit and other platforms to get people to YouTube?
Yeah. I agree. Viral's this kind of buzzword, and everyone wants to be viral, but they wind up just being annoying. Sometimes it totally works, but it's like a 1 in 10,000 chance, so it's kind of a gamble. The word consistent is the most important. By being flexible enough to evolve to what your audience likes, because of course you get immediate feedback on YouTube, whether you're posting something from your archives or something new. You can learn what people like and how they engage and then tune successive uploads to fit that so that you become consistent, meaning everything you release is exactly what your audience expects. And in that way you become viral because you are must-see TV, except you're not on TV. Or maybe you are sometimes too. Essentially, when you create a new episode, people have to watch it because they trust that they're going to love it when they click it. And to make that phenomenon happen on YouTube, there are a lot of creative tricks, and there's still room for innovation. What I love to do is to let people know that in the first few hours after I've uploaded, I'm going to be answering comments. Anything that you want to know about the episode, about me, I'm there talking. So if you subscribe, and you'll be alerted right away that I've released a new episode, you can be sort of at the debut and talk to the guy who created it and get feedback from him, give feedback to me. And all of that really helps the initial launch of the video do well. Reaching out to blogs and telling them, hey, you guys might find this interesting. I love your work. You know, trying to keep it really personal, but also help them out because they're looking for content as well.
And you can look at the sources of traffic on your YouTube analytics to see where people are coming from.
Yeah, sometimes you'll find that someone sent you just a few hundred views, but it's worth it to just thank them and let them know that you think that's awesome. Now you've got someone who's going to be a fan for life.
And what about Twitter? So how do you use Twitter today?
I use Twitter a lot for promoting what like my fans have been doing, artwork they've made, and photos of, you know, hey, look, my teacher's playing your video in class, look at us. I also use it to let people know that, hey, a new video is out, and I'll send out supplemental material that's around that topic. So if you really want to dive deeper into the subject that I just discussed, you could follow me on Twitter and see a lot of other things, sometimes tangential, but always neat.
And when people tweet at you, you try to respond as well, right?
Yeah, I wish I could respond more often.
Yeah, having millions of subscribers, it gets more and more difficult.
I only have 300,000 Twitter followers. It's like a piece of cake to talk to all of them. No, it's not. It's not, but you know, this isn't on the topic of being consistently viral, but you need to kind of take a step back and think, okay, for the time investment that's required, what's the payoff? And replying to YouTube comments is actually a really high payoff because you're only responding to one person at a time, but it's a public response. Everybody sees that you are talking to them. On Twitter, there are special ways to reply to people that also make it a public thing, but you want to balance, you know, overwhelming all of your followers with that. But the point is, think about who should I respond to, and how do I make sure that everyone feels like they're part of the conversation, even if I'm only going to talk back to maybe 10 people.
There's a really cool tool on YouTube called Top Fans, where you could see who are the top influencers, people that commented on your content.
Yeah.
So because Google Plus is now merged with your YouTube channel, you can use your Google Plus identity to merge them. You will see in terms of Google Plus circles and how many followers they have or how they engage with content, which are the most important ones for you, and try to respond to those ones first.
And I like to use it as a little stalking tool because you can find these people and then go, okay, you're my top fan according to YouTube's algorithm. You watch everything right away, you comment on everything, and you also already have a lot of subscribers yourself. Wait, what else do you watch? Who else do you like? Because I should work with those people, or I should know more about your habits and what you watch and what you say on other videos so that I can better tailor what I make for people like you so I don't just have one of you, but I've got a million of you.
Right. So let's talk about collaborations, and I'm quoting you here because I heard you say, unlike TV, YouTube creators don't feel like competitors. I mean, that's a really big difference with television. That's really important. And then cross-pollination is such a huge audience driver.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is incredible. Because it's not an appointment viewing type platform, if someone's watching Minute Physics on YouTube, it doesn't mean that they're not going to watch me. In fact, it actually means that they're probably now more likely to watch what I make. And so when you look at the channels that are growing the fastest, it's often people who are connected and cooperative and collaborative with other people within their genre. Because YouTube's not this big dumping ground for video on demand content. I mean, it can be if you want to be, you know, lame, but if you want to be a part of the community and show that this is a social network and that subscribing to your content is like becoming your friend, you're going to do a lot better. I mean, like I said before, people don't just subscribe because they want to get the content. They subscribe because they want to be a subscriber. They want to be able to say, oh yeah, Vice, totally, I'm subscribed. Like, I've already seen all their stuff. AKA, I'm as cool as Vice. That's what it's about them.
So what are things that TV producers or traditional media companies should think about or not when they want to engage with native content producers like you, YouTube creators? Are there good collaborations that are possible? How do they go about it first? I mean, do they just tweet at people and offer them to do something?
Yeah, there's a million ways. Some ways are as simple as that, just like tweeting at them and just being a fan and showing that you're a fan, because that's flattering and it also shows that you're willing to be these sort of community members with each other. But then, like you showed with the slow-mo guys, it's not just about, well, if we pay them, then we can hire them. It's like these guys are already doing exactly what they want with complete creative freedom. So what else can you offer them on top of that? So if you are, in that case, I think it was GE, and they had access to ferrofluids and some kind of other crazy thing, and the slow-mo guys had a slow-mo camera, and they were like, perfect, we're there, right?
Right. And in terms of, I guess, staying true to themselves on that channel, how far will a creator be willing to go? So in terms of that creative control that you mentioned, which is really important. The creators are building their own brands. It took them a couple years to get there. They used all these strategies. They built people that on and on subscribe to their channel and they're loyal, so they don't want to lose them by making a mistake and seeming like they're doing brand placement. How far will they be able to go? Will they agree to stop uploading on their channels and concentrate on someone else's network?
It totally depends on the creator, but honestly, you should really trust these top creators. They've already built these amazing audiences, and they tend to be people who work through the entire spectrum of jobs required. They created the branding, they named the channel, they write all the episodes, they perform in all the episodes, they edit all of them, they manage the social media themselves. In my situation, it's myself and this other guy that helps me with research and editing. That's it. And so trusting them is a key to success because they know what their audience likes. They know how to make sure that 99% of the viewers love what they made and that it gets millions of views. And if you can be a part of that, fantastic. The best way to be a part of it is to offer them something they couldn't get otherwise.
So there's a bridge between television and YouTubers, but they will want to keep control over their channels.
Yeah, and they should, because everyone will win more if they do that.
So we talked about being inspired and being sustainable so that you're happy as a content creator. We talked about getting your content discovered on the platform. How do you get people to stick? How do you build that community of people? One thing that we've noticed with these creators is that conversational tone that they have on YouTube. So they speak direct to camera oftentimes, even if they have, so Wong Fu, for example, if they have a scripted series where there's no element of conversation, they do have another channel on the side where they have that vlog, and they talk to their fans about the creative process and what happened in the background. So they do have that conversation still with their fans because interaction, and we'll talk about it afterwards, is hugely important. So even if you have a scripted series, think of a way that you can have that conversation with the audience. This is a really cool example I wanted to talk about. Grace Halbig is one of the top YouTube creators on YouTube in the US. She has a vlog where she talks about everything about her life. And St. Ives, which is a big brand, cream, hydrating cream, noticed that she was using these products and talking about them in her vlog and approached her and said, would you want to do something with us? And she said, sure, but you have to give me carte blanche and you have to trust me. I'll do whatever I want. I want to do a giant waterfall of St. Ives hydrating product, and she did. And she had flying butterflies, and she had a huge.
Well, it was green screened, to be clear.
You gave up the secret. I thought it was a great island that doesn't exist, but anyway. And the feedback from the fans was really interesting. Instead of saying, "Oh, you sold out. You did a brand collaboration. I want to unsubscribe." Actually, they said, "You're a great ambassador for this. I noticed you love St. Ives product already, and you know what? I just bought one last week just because I watched that video."
And a red baseball shirt.
And the baseball shirt, yeah, to go with the cream. So that authenticity that we mentioned before is very important. She has that conversation with her audience, which they feel like they're friends with her. So you have to stay true to that, even if you're collaborating with a YouTuber. The other thing is making sure you know your audience. So you have YouTube analytics. You can find out how old they are. You can find out where they are in terms of geography, market. You can adapt and do subtitles or dubbing if you need to get that audience to continue watching you. How do you make sure you know your audience and how you adapt to that? BuzzFeed does very broad mainstream videos, things like chances of you being famous. But you have also YouTubers that do very niche content, like nail painting. I don't know what you consider yourself to be broad or niche content.
Well, they use the word strong niche on this slide because nail painting sounds niche, but like how many people paint their nails? Like a lot, right? And YouTube is this global platform, so how many people really care about why humans wear clothing and animals don't? Well, apparently millions, because I can reach everyone that has an internet connection.
Right, so think of underserved content that you can tap into and you can produce, whether it's nails or something else.
I did a video about why animals don't wear clothing, by the way. This is like a weird thing I just thought of.
Thanks for sharing.
Of course.
So, and this is a great example of PS4. They did this ad, which really was targeted to me because I'm over 30 now, I'm 35, but it was really in the 80s, I know I don't look 35, but in the 80s, there was a lot of people playing those early platforms, the PlayStation and whatnot. And the ad used the clothing and the environments in the bedroom that really catered to my generation, not to the young generation today that plays the PS4. So it was highly targeted at me. So think about those elements that are really true and connect with that audience. So being consistent, we talked about that a ton, but I think it's the other hugely important thing. If you think about television, on one channel, you could have a soap opera, you could have a newscast, you could have the weather.
Right.
You could have a lot of various types of content. On YouTube, you want to be really consistent in the schedule, first of all. So you can do a type of video every Wednesday and another type of video every Thursday. But the format of the content and the topic that you're covering is very consistent, and it should be. Because if you think of the targeting of the audience we talked about before, let's say Jack's Gap, their audience is teenage girls. If they all of a sudden start doing a gaming video that attracts more 18 to 34 males, these girls are going to unsubscribe to the channel. So you might want to consider doing another channel to do gaming if you're doing that vlog or if you're doing beauty, and that's not consistent with your audience. But when you're starting off, if you guys don't have YouTube channels and you're thinking about it, try to be really true and consistent in the beginning. Go step by step. Choose that one topic you're passionate about and go that way. And Simon's Cat is a really good example of having consistent voice and character. That's another thing. Vsauce has Michael as the main host and talent. So actually, you could talk about Vsauce 2 and 3. When you thought about launching different topics, you launched new channels.
Yeah, so I do the science and history and psychology of the universe, the real world. But I had a second host on the channel that was doing some other formats we'd created, and they were great, except people never knew what to expect from us, and they started comparing all of the shows. It's almost like they saw a YouTube channel as a YouTube show. And so we created Vsauce 2, and I said, why don't you just take that one on? And he brought all of his formats there, and he became super popular there, and everyone loves him there because it's what they expect. Now we have a third channel, Vsauce 3, which is about the science of fictional things. What if Superman punched you in the face? How quickly would you die? That's a physics question, but Superman's not real, so I don't do that. We do it on Vsauce 3.
You only talk about real stuff?
Right. If we had to cram everything onto one channel, in my opinion, there'd be a lot of, I hate these, like hypothetical magical questions. And I'd be like, well, sorry, but instead we can say if that's what you want, or to get you into the right mindset before you watch it, we have Vsauce 3.
Great. And actually, let's watch a quick clip of a video I really find funny and it's cool.
Hey.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good, you?
Good. What do you want to do for dinner?
No, you can't talk to her right now.
What?
You can't talk to her right now because I'm talking to her right now.
Okay, well, that's my wife, and I can talk to my wife whenever I want to talk to my wife. She can talk to me whenever she wants to talk to me.
No, she's not your wife. She's the princess.
I'm the princess right now.
See?
Well...
Okay. So she's playing with me. So you just go over there right now. Look how much fun we're having.
So I think that hits on a lot of the stuff we talked about. It's very sustainable. What happened is that the guy who's the real guy, the blonde one, his 2-year-old daughter was saying all this really funny dialogue, and he just decided to hire an actor and reenact that through a video, short video. And it worked so well, we can say it became viral, even though I hate that word, that he decided to keep reenacting a lot of their dialogues and made a series out of it on YouTube and released a video consistently. And now he's very successful. So think about those things that you can pilot on YouTube, and if it kicks off, are you able to replicate it? Are you sustainable? Is that something that's true to you and authentic, and that you can make over and over again? And Jamie Oliver that I mentioned before, when he collaborates with a brand like EE, I don't know if you've seen this video, it's really cool. Check it out. He worked with Kevin Bacon, who's a spokesperson for EE, the telecom company, actually. And he collaborated with him and make this bacon sandwich. And in the middle of the video, it starts buffering. And Jamie Oliver freezes. And Kevin Bacon makes his own version of the bacon sandwich, which is this humongous sandwich that beats Jamie Oliver, basically. So they did this collaboration that played on the word bacon, and that was very consistent at the same time with Jamie Oliver's usual content, which is doing recipes and filming them on his channel, FoodTube. So even though he collaborated with the brand, it was very seamless and didn't turn off his audience. The last one I wanted to mention is interactivity, another really huge key difference with television. On television, the audience is passive and consuming content that's being not fed to them, but there might be cooking or doing something else at the same time. On YouTube, they have that opportunity to be really active and engage with the content. You have things like annotations you can click on. This is an example of a show that continues the conversation beyond YouTube. The characters tweet at you. They're on Facebook as well. When the girl breaks up with her boyfriend, on Pinterest, she has a sad picture of her. So she really continues that conversation on other platforms that redirects to that hub on YouTube. So that's a form of interactive digital storytelling.
Which show is that?
That is the one that uses the literature. It's like a remake of that literature, the Jane Austen. Yeah, Lizzie Bennet Diaries.
Yeah, cool. It's great.
So other ways of interacting is interaction with fans, and epic rap battles is super funny. You know them really well, obviously. But what they do is they do an epic rap battle, as the name says, between two famous characters. So here it's between Skrillex and Mozart. And at the end of the video, they have a simple way of engaging with the audience. They'll just ask the audience, who do you think won between these two characters? Leave your comment below. Or next step, if you want to be more engaged, can you suggest some other people we should have in our show next time? Which famous characters would you want to see battle next time? And then further, even they actually show the comments from people on their video so that people come back and see if they appeared on the video. Copa90, who's also on stage with you today, because they do sports and getting access to highlights and games is very hard in that domain. What they do is they have this simple show in studio where they interact with the audience by telling them, what questions do you have for us in terms of games that are coming up and whatnot that we can answer. And they'll just answer to people's comments. Sometimes they'll even show pictures of people or videos of people. And that's a great way of getting people to come back to your channel over and over again. Jimmy Kimmel's another one that does it really well. Around Halloween, he'll ask parents to film their kids, thinking that the candies have been stolen by the parents. And they film the reactions and they send it to Jimmy Kimmel. So not only does the call-out video 30 to 40 million views, but also he shows the parents' videos on his channel. And that's really good for watch time. Because on YouTube, views are important, but what's more important is the watch time. Are people watching through your whole piece of content? Are they coming back and watching more content? Do you have playlists where you can curate content, even if it's not yours? The more they stay on your channel, the more watch time you have, and the more you will benefit from search engines on YouTube. So Anna Hart, who's another big creator, she has My Drunk Kitchen, the show, she said, the audience is my boss. Is your audience your boss, and how do you take into account that? Do you know your audience? How do you cater to them?
Yeah, they're my boss, but they're totally like that cool, friendly boss that you just like. So yeah, and it's funny because your audience is your boss, they're your friends, they're also your customers, and they're also your fans. And different audience members, in my opinion, portray different roles from that grouping at different times based on what you're doing. But the characteristic that defines a lot of the top 100 channels is that they really do think about what does my audience want from me now, and what do they, and not just on YouTube, but on all social networks, in the same way you might think, what's going to please my boss?
Okay, good answer. I love that picture, by the way, but Alex Carlos yesterday, if you've seen the keynote, he said an audience consumes passively, a fan base leans forward and engages with the content. So we talked about that interactivity piece on YouTube. And he mentioned those 4 ways that the fans are reshaping media. So if you were there, he talked about fans ignoring time slots. He talked about fans becoming talent. So he showed the Frozen video from Disney and how fans reenact those videos and do cover songs and music, for example. And now the labels do make more money from cover songs on YouTube than the actual official music videos, which is really interesting. Fans pay tribute, and fans blur borders.
Yeah.
Anything you have to say about how you interact with your fans in terms of engagement or?
Yeah, I mean, finding an audience is pretty easy, you know, if you have the right packaging and the right topics and the right marketing, you can get an audience. But to get a fan base is very, very different. And I feel like letting the fans feel like they're exposed to the entire process, not necessarily in every piece of content, but because of behind the scenes or because of supplemental material, they really feel like they know everyone involved. Like knowing the names of even the cameramen makes the biggest difference, because now they're not just consuming passively, they are engaged with this as if it's a group of friends. My favorite example is a couple of guys who do a show where they just sit out on a beach and make fun of people, and the people they're making fun of don't even know they're doing it. I'm not sure that it's legal, but they have a cameraman that sits behind them and just points the camera and zooms in on all the people they're talking about. They never show the cameraman, ever. He's never been shown on camera. He almost did once and they blurred his face out. But yet their merchandise is all about the cameraman. His name's Eric. But they don't show him on the t-shirts or anything. The point is that they know that the audience wants to be aware of the entire process. They want to run into me on the street and ask me about the cannibalism video, and I can tell them, oh yeah, good question. So here's why I didn't include that, or here's what I meant when I said that, because I wrote the thing, or at least they know who wrote the thing, you know?
One really cool thing I didn't mention is choose your own adventure type content.
Yeah.
You can use those annotations, those clickable links in the videos. You can embed yourself in your video manager. So some people, what they did, like Crime Stoppers in the UK, it was about taking a knife out on the street or not. They did this kind of form of storytelling where you could choose your own adventure by clicking on the next video you want to see, by choosing on it. So you have that possibility as well. I remember those books when I was a kid. You could turn to page 132 and see what happens. So that's also possible on YouTube if you're a scriptwriter, for example. And one really good story you told me also, you have an army, right? When you collaborate with someone and they check out that new channel, they'll say, I came from Vsauce.
I never told them to say that, but it's something that they'll do. You might think, Michael, why do you promote a channel that's not your own? You're literally sending people away from your channel. But they do that wearing my team colors, which means that the things I shout out, even major music videos, like there's this one music video by Beck, Loser, that it's kind of an inside joke, I bring it up all the time. And that video has like 70 million views, but the comments are all about, I love Vsauce. Vsauce army is attacking this video, meaning that they're showing up and just talking on it. And so, yes, I'm promoting Beck and I'm giving, you know, attention and views to his music video, but I'm also getting sort of some like hype and advertising space in the comments section because people want to say how they got there.
Yeah, and PewDiePie is the biggest channel on YouTube, 25 million subscribers. He has this bro army, that's why he calls them.
That's right, yeah.
So they fly his colors. So I wanted to conclude on a much larger question, which is, I heard this on Monday from Susan Ettlinger, an analyst. We're looking at Gutenberg level disruption. And when I was thinking about it, you know, Gutenberg, the press, he made books more accessible and a bit less expensive, but still expensive. But you still had to wait a couple months to get your book. You know, had to travel by horse and whatever. You know, of course, television made it a lot more easier to access content. But still, it's certain channels and certain content, some you have to pay for. What disruption are we seeing coming from YouTube? Where do you think it's going, and what's a major difference?
Yeah, it's really exciting because before Gutenberg, there were still a bunch of stories. Everyone knew them, but they had to kind of talk about them. But when he started printing books, people could actually own a copy of a book rather than pay someone to handwrite it. I mean, big difference. And not that long ago, if you wanted to share video over the internet, you had to, like, it took an hour to download a 3.5 megabyte video file, and you weren't really sure if you had the right version of QuickTime or Reel or whatever. It was crazy, seriously. And now it's just like, here, watch this. This made me feel this, and I want you to feel this way. You know, it's not just about access to content, but it's about how we can use content as a tool. And when I say we, I mean the viewers. And so by realizing what that disruption is all about and giving those tools over to the viewers and allowing them to become the people that share and watch and speak with the clips or the content you're putting out, you take advantage of it.
And this is a global platform.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for you as a creator?
Well, you know, I'm exploring a lot of options in terms of how do I make things that are more language agnostic, but also how do I start working in caption files? How do I find local hosts, you know? I'd like to see them taking the IP we've created and the formats we've created, but making them for their countries, for their language.
So we can talk about formats almost,
Yeah.
and think about the Endemol type business model. And of course, you know, In Kreitz being at the head of Maker Studios, that's what they're thinking about as well. Can you find those key formats that are successful on YouTube and try to export them or make them international by finding those local creators and hosts,
Yeah.
and collaborating with production companies, obviously, also.
Yeah.
Great. So I just want to point the room to some resources that are available to you for free. This is actually Courtney Love reading the playbook, the YouTube playbook. If she can read it, you can probably read it as well. YouTube.com/playbook. We have all these key strategies and more about audience development on there. You can download it. If you want the paper copy in your old school, you can probably do that too. YouTube.com/creators is our hub, where we have more information and case studies and video examples of all the things we talked about. And vidstatsx.com is not an official YouTube or Google site, but it's a great site to see who are the most successful YouTube channels in your country, for example, or globally. You can filter them by the number of subscribers they have, and look at those top 10, top 50, top 100, whatever time you want to spend. Look at these guys. Look at what they're doing. Try to learn from them, just like I'm learning from them and from Michael. What are they doing successfully that you can replicate in turn, and how are they applying these strategies? So I have a few minutes to open it up to questions, right? Do we have a microphone? Yeah. There could be questions for me or for Michael, obviously, in his process.
Thanks for coming out, guys. Really informative. I wanted to ask you about interpreting audience comments when they're negative. It seems like there's a lot of negativity, you know, on a lot of different channels on YouTube, and how do you interpret that and, you know, make your channel better while filtering it out? And last question, what would be a healthy percentage in terms of watchability through your video, whether it be 50% or 75%?
Yeah, so on comments, yeah, you have the option to turn them off completely or to, you know, remove the ones that you don't like. But it's much better to sort of organically promote the kind of stuff that you want to hear from the audience. So when you reply to comments, you can help push them up. You can make those more popular. And if people are complaining about something, but it's a valid criticism, reply to the ones that are being nice about it, not the ones that are being rude. Because it's just going to happen when you have a platform that large that's somewhat anonymous. Like, people will over-exaggerate their emotions. So many times I've seen comments that are like, I hate you, I hope you would just die. And I'll be like, sorry. And they're like, oh, I totally didn't mean that. I didn't know you read this. and we do this all the time. It's not just a YouTube thing. When you see like a celebrity on a magazine and you're like, ugh, she's the worst. And it's like, really? Would you say that to her? And you're like, well, no, but she's not a real person. She's a celebrity. That's how people often see things on the internet. They're like, well, it's not a real thing. But as soon as they realize, I've noticed that they're just like, oh.
On the watch time, you know, of course, over 50% is healthy. Like I said, watch time is so important that you actually want people to stick through the whole video. You know, if you have annotations at the end of the video, try to do it at the end, not at the beginning, so people can click through to another video that's even better, because people will keep watching content on your channel and build that watch time. When you get to the 70, 75%, then you're in really healthy territory.
Thanks.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm Emily Meehan. I wanted to know about when presenters are doing very casual 2-minute long videos, whether you found that having them memorize a script or having them just go off the cuff and improvise is more favorable with audiences.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. Should a little short 2-minute video be something that's scripted or memorized? Whatever is natural, whatever looks like it the performer or the host is not an object. Okay, I script my videos out, but I don't read the script and I don't use a teleprompter. Some people are great at using a teleprompter. That's fine. They should use one. If I used one, it would look a little unnatural and it would look more like, who's really pulling the strings? So instead, I take my scripts and I memorize a paragraph, and then I just say to my own words somewhat extemporaneously, and that's a take. That's why I keep popping in at a weird angles in my videos, because rather than use a jump cut, I use those to fill in the seams. So it's kind of this hybrid mix of, I'm really talking to you like we're having a conversation, because I want this to look real. That's my best answer for that. The point is that I want to believe that the host is someone I could run into on the street, and they would totally know everything about what they had already said.
Right, so yeah, authenticity and having that conversational tone, like we said, is hugely important. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thank you. So, do you think the internet original video website will produce a new and a totally different business model more than traditional TV station? If so, when, how, and why?
Why is the business model on YouTube different from television?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
I'm not a super good businessman, but I mean, is it that, how is it, I actually have the same question, because it seems like we've always wanted to share things. We've always liked good content. I mean, it used to be harder to share it, though. And it used to be harder to know how it was doing because you didn't have analytics on everything. And now you do. So you can just adapt a lot faster and have fun quicker.
So right now the platform is ad supported, so it is based on advertising. So you really want to make sure that you're going to be building that audience so you get more and more views, but also more of the watch time I mentioned before, so people discover your content more and more. Are you building those subscribers on your channel so that people come back every day or every week? You're building that video hub. By doing that, you will build up the inventory. You'll get more ad buys. You know, YouTube sells those ads, obviously, if you're in a network or not. There's different models there. But the point is monetizing that content. Then when you get to certain inventory, you do want to try to collaborate with brands. And there's a lot out there who are warming up to premium content and to that content on YouTube. You have that expertise. You're able to do that premium content on YouTube. So try to think about those authentic ways of collaborating with brands, like we said before. It might be that they're commissioning content from you. It might be that they want to launch their own channel on YouTube, and you might be an expert who's going to produce the content for them on YouTube. So there's a lot of ways you can do that. But think about that inspirational and true, authentic channel that you're going to launch first.
Hi, right here. I have a question for Michael. It seems that you do a lot of things by yourself with the help of another person you mentioned. And I wanted to know if you feel like you need or you will need in the future an MCN to be affiliated with, as you are now building new Vsauce channels. You talked about the number 2 and number 3.
Again, I'm not really like the business guy, but I also like having an agent, right? And a lot of it comes down to figuring out what your goals are, you know? Building a business around YouTube and figuring out what the things are that you want to do next. So, I don't know.
I think there's a lot of things that an MCN might provide that, you know, Michael doesn't do, like selling inventory. I mean, YouTube will sell. Maybe he wants more targeted ads, and some of the MCNs might be aggregating similar content and similar verticals, whether it's science education or music or whatnot. So being part of that MCN, if you can be packaged among other very successful creators, might be a good idea if you don't have your own sales force in the beginning. So when you're launching on YouTube, a lot of the creators feel more comfortable being part of an MCN. You have to make sure that they'll represent you right in the right way and that they're providing services that are truly exceptional that will help you yourself in the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had a question about that. I have very niche content, have like over 800 videos on our YouTube channel, but we haven't been able to get over 2 million views. And I'm just wondering, do you take some of that content and go to a MCN, or, I mean...
Is that 2 million views per month, or?
Oh, I wish it was a day. No, it's taken us probably 4 years to get to 2 million.
Total.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not very much. I know people have more than that on one video easily.
Well, I mean, look, I don't know a lot about the MCN world, but a lot of the work you can do on your own, like I don't know what the niche is, but are there forums or blogs where people share this kind of stuff? Obviously, alerting them that this exists or figuring out how to make the niche apply to more people. Why should I care about this topic? Like how, you know what I mean? Like that's one of the things I pride myself on doing is saying like paint drying is really boring. Or is it? You know, and then we like look at drying paint under a microscope and it's cool. So I think that really like a lot of the stuff that's in the YouTube playbook will help you use the platform better and also think more about your viewers' experience and what's going to cause them to tell more people that love that niche that they should be watching.
Yeah, I talked about the toy cars before are very successful, so that's really niche. Yeah, think about those strategies we talked about and have a look how you can apply those.
I have a question for Michael. Increasingly people are watching YouTube on mobile devices. Have you changed the way you're making videos for the mobile first ideas? Has that affected you much?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I didn't actually use the YouTube app on my phone until like a month ago, which was so ridiculous. It's so stupid. You should be acting like a viewer. You should do everything that your viewers do because I didn't realize how the app looked. I only knew how my channel looked on a desktop browser. And I'm like, oh, goodness gracious, I need to stop doing some things and do other things differently because more than half of my views are coming from mobile devices. And then I was like, I bet I need to make my videos shorter because if people are on their phones, they're not going to want to do this. So I had an analyst look through all the YouTube analytics for watch time on desktop versus television versus mobile. And the people watching the most minutes in a row were on mobile devices. And I was like, that's amazing. I'll keep making 15-minute long videos. Great. Other than that, it's just kind of changed the way I view the viewer in my head while I'm writing the script. So like I did a video about fingerprints, and I decided to calculate how many calories you would gain if you licked all the smudges off your phone screen. It's about 1.5 calories of oil on an average phone screen from your fingers. And the reason I chose that was because I figured they'd be on their phones anyway. In general, it's more of just while you're writing, think that you're talking to people that are mobile, whether it's on a tablet or a phone.
There's really simple things like branding also. If you have their thumbnail on YouTube, make sure it's a big...
You know what? This is like one of the earliest things I ever started bringing up, and it's that a lot of times people shoot content for YouTube and the person's like really far away, and it would look great on a television screen, but I want to be able to see expressions and faces. So as you can see, I shoot pretty close up. I'd like to say that it was a choice. Really, it's because I don't have a cameraman, so the camera can only be as close as it takes me to reach my hand out and focus. But it's worked out because it means that on a device like this, you can totally see how Michael feels.
All right, I think that's all the time we have. So thank you very much for coming, and hopefully it will inspire you.
Yeah, thank you.